So, uh, so our today's Aeon topic is Solace and Saudade. So, the firstly, what is the meaning of solace? The solace meaning is a comfort or it comfort in giving a comfort to someone in sadness situations. And the saudade means a feeling of longing or nostalgia. So, let's see the what it contains. So, it's here. In the face of an inscrutable, indifferent universe, Pessoa suggests we cultivate a certain longing for the elusive horizons. So, firstly, what's the meaning of inscrutable? Inscrutable means not showing emotions, and the elusive means difficult to describe. So, it is written by Jonathan Gannery. Sorry, Jonathan Gannery. So let's move towards our first paragraph, first passage. An elusive point sits on horizon, a deep yearning, futile within to move closer to this point. Perhaps in search of unknown, perhaps in search of questions without answers. It is a yearning that will never be fulfilled. It is a point never reached. This yearning is all too human's inclination for our lives to somehow be different than they are, and for the universe not to be indifferent to our cares and concerns. So, so here are some words which meaning we must know. The first word is yearning. What is yearning? Yearning here means a strong feeling of wishing for something which we didn't get easily. And another one is satires. It means to mix a liquid or other substance by moving an object. And there is inclination. There is another word, which is inclination, which means a feeling that you want to be a particular thing, but you want a particular thing but and facts that you prefer more likely to do in a particular way. So the title for this passage is author is talking about his deep desire. As yearning means a desire, so that's why the passage is talking about what the desire of author. So what we can take from this passage is main points. Uh, Actually, there is no such as that we can take a point as it is, but here we can say here, author wanted to reach to elusive points for the search of unknown and the question and search of question without answers. So let's moving forward to another passage. So let's hear what it's stuff. In her essay, The Blue of Distance, 2005, written in 2005, the US author Rebecca Solnit associates this point never reached with the color blue. She writes. For many years, I have been moved by the blue at far edge of what can be seen, the color of horizons, of remote mountain ranges, of anything far away. The color of that distance is the door of an emotion, the door of solitude and of desire. The color they are seen from here, the color of where you are not, and the color of where you can never go. So, as it suggests, as you see, the author, Rebecca Solnit, she writes in her essay, The Blue of Distance, she's talking about describing the color of blue. So the title of this whole passage is the Rebecca Sonnet's description about the color blue. So what she described here is the color blue is the color of horizons and the remote mountain range. And the blue signifies a remote mountain range which is too far. Sometime in the drawings and in some anime pictures, the mountains are shown with blue color. And the color that distance is a color of emotion, the color of solitude and desire. So she described the blue color in different sentences and compare with different things. So let's move on forward. When combined with the longing for something absent, for something that simply can't be, this is sorted. A Portuguese expression for a state akin to melancholy, longing, a complex emotion where a melancholy grade seeps into distance. So here is author is talking about the complex emotion where the melancholy gray seeps into the distance blue. That's all for that passage. Just moving forward from the next passage. Lacking any easy English translation, Saudade seems to be an emotion that can be expressed only through the poetry or other evocations of its melancholy longing. Whereas nostalgia is the longing for something that once existed, a person or place or experience that lives in our memory. Sonnet encompasses a longing for something that never was, something not attainable. So here are some difficult words in this passage is evocations. The evocation means the fact of making someone remember or imagine something. And what is a melancholy? Melancholy means expressing feeling of sadness. And there is another word, attainable. Attainable means a possible to achieve. So here author is in this whole passage, author is describing about the word sorted. Sorted, so we can what we can take from here is emotions that can be expressed only through the poetry. See this line. This whole line we can take as it is an emotion that can be expressed only through poetry or other evocations of its melancholy longing. The another one what we can take from is encompasses the longing for something that never was, something that's not attainable. Let's moving forward to the next pieces. Within the yearning, a sense of incompleteness exists, a feeling of loss for something we never actually had. We want, for example, to connect to the divine, to the universe, in a personal and meaningful way. We long to find a meaning in our existence and our experience, and the meaning we tend to attach to the confusion and loss we feel when this fails to happen is of something short of providential punishment or karmic backlash. No matter how we attempt to make sense of what we experience, the indifference linger, an unsettling realization that nothing ultimately matters. We long for the things we do and say to make a difference, for the universe to respond to our call in a way that is just and kind, but it simply can't. So here is author is talking about the meaning, describing about yearning, the feeling of yearning. So the title of this passage is The Sense of Incompleteness Within Yearning. So what we can take from here is a feeling of loss for something that we never had, that we never. And another one is from here. To connect to the divine, to universe in a personal and meaningful way. This author wants to connect to the divine and universe in a personal and meaningful way. And from here, we can also take. We long to find a meaning in our existing in our experience. So here, author is seeking a meaning in existing and experience. Another, we can take this line as it is. Unsettling realization that nothing ultimately matters. And another one is from this whole passage. We long for the things we do and say to make a difference, for the universe to respond to our call in a way that is just and kind, but it simply can't. The author is saying that we urge universe to respond to our calls the way it is, but it can't. The way we wish, but universe not all the time responds to our wish as we want. So moving forward, there is one another passage is here. How can we still find a solace living in such a world where indifference is all there is, and to reach a place where our yearning has not disappeared, but yet has, in some way, being transformed? This is the questions of an author. Let's see what's the next passage holds. In her essay, Saudade and Souled, Fernando Pessoa and Antonio Machado on Nostalgia and Loneliness, written in 2007, the Lusophone scholar Estela Vera provides a possible solution. She writes, Solid in Paso is a lot more related to loneliness since the absence of others is what causes the painful feeling regularly associated with nostalgia. Yet the absence is itself a creative presence, populated with imagined others, a lot more real than the emptiness of reality. Like all feeling, loneliness for him is nothing more than one of the source of creation. So there is no as such heading we should give for this message particular. Rather, I will describe it as Esther Vera's essay Sources and Solitude, describing how the loneliness creates image of others lot more than the emptiness of reality. Means in her essay, she is describing that we create the image of other people's more our expectation and imagination. Let's say about our life partner that this should be in this quality should be is in his or her, but in reality we don't know. Maybe that person is beyond our expectations. So that's kind of things author is talking about in this particular passage. Let's moving forward to the next passage. Fernando Pessoa lived what was in many ways an astonishingly modern, transcultural, and translingual life. He was born in Lisbon, the point of departure for Vasco da Gama's voyage to India, as a commemorated by the Pessoa's forebear. The poet Luis de Camões Pessoa grew up in Algophone, Durban in South Africa, acquiring a lifelong love for English poetry and language. Returning to Lisbon in 1905, which he would never again leave, Pessoa set himself the goal to travel throughout an infinitude of inner landscapes, to be an explorer of inner world. So, this passage is talking about the early life of Pessoa. So, the title of this particular passage is Early Life of Fernando Pessoa. So what we can take from this passage is from this whole line. Fernando Pessoa lived what was in the many an astonishingly modern, transcultural, and translingual life. So we can take Pessoa lived a modern, transcultural, and translingual life. And we can take from here. He was born in Lisbon, point of departure of Vasco da Gama, voyage to India that commemorated by the Pessoa's courtier, the poet Luis de Camões. We can take from here is born in Lisbon, Lisbon, departure for which is a departure for Vasco da Gama. That's all for that particular line. And moving forward, what we can take from this whole this line. Pessoa grew up in Anglophone Durban in South Africa, acquiring a lifelong love for the English poetry and language. We can take from here is Pessoa acquiring a lifelong love for the English poetry and language in Africa. And next we can take from here the goal to travel throughout an infinitude of inner landscape to be explorer of inner worlds. That's all for this thesis. Let's moving towards to the next thesis. He published a very little during his lifetime, but left behind a renowned trunk containing a treasure trove of scraps on which were written some of the greatest literary work on the 20th century, mainly in Portuguese, but also substantially in English and French. Pessoa wrote poems under a variety of heteronyms, the virtual subjects of his imagination, and also importantly a novel, or rather the anti-novel, The Book of Discreet, whose protagonist, Bernardo Shores, ruminates in detail on the meaning of peace. So there is one difficult word here is heteronym. What is the meaning of heteronyms? The meaning of means is two or more words which are spelled identically but have a different sounds and meaning. So the title of this passage is Pessoa's literary work. So we can just take from here. Pessoa wrote a poems. Pessoa wrote a poems under a variety of heteronyms. This we can take and the first one is a virtual subject. The subject mainly a virtual subject of his imagination. And his books are the Book of Discreet, which is a quite famous. That's all for that passage. Let's moving towards the next passage. Viara's interesting idea is to fashion a link between Saudade and Peshwa's creation of a poetry of heteronyms, virtual other selves through which he could live a multiplicity of imagined life. Its solid is a melancholy yearning for something the universe will never provide, perhaps the very absence to which it draws our attention can be created opportunity, an empty space that Pessoa seeks to fill, and the inventions of heteronyms is his way to fill it. Here one difficult word is poetry. What is the meaning of coterie? The meaning of coterie is a small group of people with shared interest and often one that does not want to other people to join them. So, the title for this passage is The Creation of a Link Between the Sources and the Pessoa's Creation. So, what we can take from here is this whole line as it is. The creation of coterie of heteronyms, virtuals, other selves through which he could live a multiplicity of imagined life. And another one we can take from here. The absence to which draw till this. The absence to which draw our attention to can be creative opportunity and empty space that Pessoa seeks to fill the inventions of heteronyms in his way to fill it. We can take here is absence of melancholic yearning can be creative for opportunity. So let's moving forward the next series of places. Let's see what it's about. If everything is unimportant, then all we do is unimportant too. It's a great point. Let's see what this places hold for us. So, so the first places is, and yet this doesn't quite work. In the book of disquiet, for instance, Pessoa has his novel's putative protagonist soul, the literary vehicles through which he explored the idea of solid say, what I confess is unimportant, because everything is unimportant. All quotes from the Richard Jennett's translation of the Book of Discipline. And it is also contained in this particular thesis. Yeah. The difference of the universe is not then a creative opportunity, but the instant directively confronts us with the fact that nothing we might try to create is of any importance. If what shows expressed here is true, we find no solace in inventing heteronyms or anything else. If everything is unimportant, then all we do is unimportant too. This is only to reinforce the sentiment souls expressed early in the same passage, saying, these are my confessions. And if in them I say nothing, it's because I have nothing to say. So, this whole passage from here till here. It's talking about the head title of this whole passage is Description of Saudade in the book described by source by the source, protagonist source. So, what does passage have? First is this line we take. The indifference of the universe is not then a creative opportunity, but the instant directly confronts us with the fact that nothing will might try to create is of any importance. So what it's talking about the indifference universe of our creativity that not holds any importance. That's for this. And moving forward to this whole. There is the confessions, and what we can take from here is the Peswa isn't finding a solace in from this line. If passes, we can take points from this passage. Now, the whole passage, what this whole passage is talking about. It's talking about the Peswa's acceptance of unimportance in his creativity in indifferent universe. That's all for that particular passage. It's moving forward to the another. Ah, no nostalgia hurts as much as nostalgia for things that never existed. The longing I feel when I think of the past I have lived in a real time, that weep over the corpse of my childhood life, this can't compare to the fervor of my trembling grief as I weep over the non-reality of my dreams. Humble, characters, even the minor one I recall having seen just once in my pseudo while turning a corner in my envisioned world, or while passing through a doorway on a street that I walked up and down the same street. So, this whole passage doesn't contain any particular chapters, but just a summary. Summary of this whole passage is the Pessoa describing about his pain for nostalgia of his pseudo. So let's moving forward to another passage. And oh, just wait, the one line is left from the fourth passage. My bitterness over nostalgia, importance to revive and resurrect become a cheerful race against the god. Here is author is talking about his pain, which he felt because of the reality. He know that whatever he imagined, that can't be real. So that's his anger and pain is describing in other places. Let's moving forward to the next places. The whole weekend. Yeah. In a Saudade, the Genites translate as nostalgia or yearning, then begins to take on a new kind of melancholy, one that takes away any kind of comfort we might have found in our attempts to seek connection with an indifferent universe, one in which longed for blue point on the horizons turned a blue-gray. Sordid is woven throughout Pessoa's work. It reflects that he has found the solace in understanding that there is no meaning, that he has accepted everything as it is. An acceptance of the indifference of the universe, said to us who say, the inscrutability of the universe is quite enough for us to think about. To want to actually understand, it is to be less than human. Since the human is to be realized, it can't be understood. Perhaps, then the idea is that finding acceptance in indifference is a way to move closer to being fully human. So the it ever present, this whole, or the firstly the title of this whole passage is Zenith's translations in Sorted. So the first one is talking about, we can take from here, what we can take from all this passage is the nostalgia signifies that comfort is taken away while seeking connection with indifference universe. And the Pessoa accepted everything as it is. So let's see what this poetry lines are talking about. So it's talking about the emotions of universe can't be understood or accepted. Can't be understood if it is if it can't be accepted. If it's accepted, then we consider ourselves as a fully humans. That's all for that passage. Let's moving towards the next passage. Rather than the suffering of loneliness, it is more helpful here to think about the process of grieving, moving through denial. Anger, bargaining, and depression can lead us eventually to an acceptance that we cannot change the one we have lost, that their absence is now a permanent feature of the universe we inhabit. We try so hard to deny the indifference of the universe by finding meaning in religion, spiritual practice, or our experience. When these meaning making efforts stop making sense, then anger, bargaining, and depression surface something all at once when the wave of shock at the world's indifference subsides. So, the title for this passage is The Untold Truth of Indifference Universe. So, here in this passage, the author is talking about number one is rather than suffering, it is needed to find a process of grieving. And the next one is acceptance that we cannot change the one we have lost. So we need to just accept the things that whatever we lost, we can't change. And the another one we are taking from this whole denying the indifference of universe by finding a meaning in religion, spiritual or practices or our experience doesn't make any sense. That's all for that basis. Let's moving forward to the next basis. As we emerge on the other side of these emotions, a glimpse of hope appears in form of acceptance. We can still yearn for something to fill the empty space in what we feel like an incompleteness of life. But that yearning take on a new purpose. It exposes a new humanness that before was obscure. The Dutch photographer Nanak brings in one who finds this connection between the sorrows and grief, and many of her photographs have a blue-gray tone. This is the photograph that the author is talking about. So, what the title of this particular passage is "The Yearning with a New Purpose." Here, author is talking about the hope appears in form of acceptance and exposure of new meanings. That's all for that passage. Let's moving toward the next passage. Oh, let's hear. Here is how Pessoa, as source, make the link between a grief and meaninglessness. In this time of acute grief, it is impossible, even in dreams, to be a lover, to be a hero, to be happy. And all this is empty, even in our idea of what it is. It's all spoken in another language that we can't grasp, mere nonsense levels to our understanding. Life is hollow, the soul hollow, the world hollow. All gods die at death greater than death. All is emptier than the world. And all is a chaos of the things that are nothing. So here in this book, the whole passage in the author is talking about how Pessoa makes the link between the grief and the meaningless. And in the from the particular line of the poem, author signifies that the reality of grief is everything seems inexpressive, and sadness sounds like someone is crying in dark. So moving toward this passage, what author is talking about. If I'm thinking this, I look up to see if reality can quench my thirst. I see inexpressive facades, inexpressive faces, inexpressive gestures, stone bodies, ideas, all dead. All movements are on one grid standstill. Nothing means anything to me. And in the bottom of my soul, as the only reality of this moment, there is an intense and invisible grief, a sadness, like the sound of someone crying in dark. So the explanation I already gave. So the reality of grief is everything seems inexpressive and sadness sounds like someone is crying in dark. Let's moving forward to the next business. In this movement of grief, Pessoa arrives at a self-awareness and acceptance of the world's inevitable insouciance. This allows him a kind of clarity to see the meaninglessness and inexpressiveness of everything. And it is within this clarity and stillness that solace is finally found. The longing hasn't vanished, but it is now truly seen and accepted without giving it meaning or importance. He does not claim understanding, but instead embarrass just how things are. So the difficult word is insouciance. What it means? It means a relaxed and happy way of behaving without feeling worried or guilty. So in the particular passage, the title of particular passage is how Pessoa accepts the meaninglessness of everything. So here the author is what the bullet point we can take from it. Self-awareness as an acceptance of world inevitable insouciance. This we can take as it is. And another one is we can take from here. As it is within this clarity and stillness that solace is finally found. So the solace can found in clarity and the stillness. We can take from here is we can take something from here is that he does not claim understanding but instead embarrasses how things are. Here, author is talking about don't understand but embarrass just how the things are. Not every time we need to understand everything. Sometimes we accept the thing as it is. Let's moving forward to the next pieces. To find a solace here without the yearning for meaning is to find a stillness and to experience it as what it is, to be a fully human. The French philosopher Simone Weil developed the idea of acceptance in a particular direction. At the center of the human heart is longing for an absolute good, a longing which is always there and is never appeased by any object in this world. She writes in her draft for a settlement of human obligation 1943. So there is no particular topic given to title given to this particular passage. So it's contained just a summary. So the summary of this particular passage is Simon Weil writes in her draft of the settlement of human obligation 1943, which is written in 1943, that at the center of the human heart it is a longing for an absolute good, a longing which is always there and never appeased by any object in this world. That's all for that passage. Let's moving forward for another series of the passages. So what the series contains, let's see. We must stop searching for meaning and instead accept that all we have to do is wait with an open and ready heart. Okay, that's an interesting point. So let's read our first passage of this particular series. In her posthumously published Waiting for God in 1950, Real finds resolution a new concept of attention at waiting, not at searching. Okay. So in every school exercise, there is a special way of waiting upon truth, setting our hearts upon it, yet not allowing ourselves to go out in search of. There is a way of giving our attention to the data of a problem in geometry without trying to find the solution, or to the word of Latin or Greek text without trying to arrive at the meaning. A way of waiting. When we are writing for the right word to come of itself at the end of our pen, while we merely reject all inadequate words. So the topic or title of this particular passage is the concept of waiting and searching. So the author is uh, talking uh, talking about in the passages how the art of waiting is not searching. Let's see what we can take from this passage is. In every school exercise, there is special way of waiting upon it, with setting upon it, upon it, and it's not allowing ourselves to go out in the search. So what here the author is talking about, by waiting is not allowed, while waiting, it's not allowed to go out for the searching of any particular things. And from all this whole passage, we can take that while waiting, we automatically found the answer. When we wait for something for too long, we automatically found the answer. So let's moving forward to the next topic. So rather than straining ourselves in a supreme effort to find answers, to achieve goals, to reach destination, we should instead, and this is equally difficult, learn to wait. Waiting means making oneself receptive and being ready to recognize the truth when it shows up. We must, in other words, stop searching for meaning or for the thing that we satisfy our melancholic longing and instead accept that all we can do is wait with an open and ready heart for such truth as there are to turn up in the book of described Pessoa writes, where the Pessoa writes about. So the particular passage, the title of particular passage is Stop Searching for an Answer. So let's see what this passage is containing. Uh, Firstly, what we can take from this is to achieve a goal, find answer, and reach destination, we need to learn how to wait. The second, what we can take from here is waiting makes oneself receptive and being ready to recognize the truth when it shows up. And the third, what we can take from here is stop searching for meaning of things that will satisfy one melancholy longing. Let's read the poem, the part of poem. All that we love or lose, the things, human beings' meanings, rubs our skin and so search the soul. And in the eye of God, the event is no more than this breeze that brought me nothing besides an imaginary relief, the propitious movement and the wherewithal to lose everything splendidly. So, the meaning of propitious is likely to result in success or showing a sign of success. And what is the meaning of wherewithal? It means something such as money or particular quality that is necessary in order to get it or achieve something. From this poetry line, what we can take, all our desires brings only imaginary reliefs, and acknowledgement and acceptance is only nature of grief, which we can see from here is that so acknowledge the relief in finding a meaning, but also that is not real. The true solace is the acknowledgement, and this acceptance of it is fleeting nature of other side of grief. So let's moving forward to the next pieces. If, as we have argued, the visual vocabulary of color is as appropriate as that of the taste in describing the quality of an emotion. And if blue is the color of solitude and desire, somewhere on distant horizon of understanding, then perhaps the soul is sorted. The unfulfilled melancholy longing is where the blue begins to turn shades of grey, a color called binus grey, of landscape much further away. A somber atmosphere filled with distance, a blue grey of shadows, storm clouds, winter with no end. So the in whole passage, so first there is the word Difficult word here is, there is one difficult word, which I don't know where it's from. This one, somber. What is the meaning of somber? The meaning of somber is serious, sad, and without any entertainment. So here the author is describing about the blue color and its significance. So what author signify with the blue color is that it is the color of solitude and desire. Then blue begins to turn shades of gray, then it signifies the fulfilled melancholic longing. So let's moving forward to the pieces. Next pieces. The color that the US novelist Henry Miller attributed to the wintry street of the Paris is surely not so dissimilar to that of the Lisbon street along which Pessoa walked, as Miller wrote in a letter to his friend, the novelist Emily Smirnoff in March 1930. It was winter, and the trees do not obscure the sky. One can look between the necked boughs and observe the color changing from the rust and purple to lilac to piney gray and then to deep blue and indigo. Along the boulevard, Malish booths, long after the crepus- crepuscular glow of the evening, the gums tree with their black bow gesticulating stretch out in infinite trees. Sombre spectral, their trunks were with the cigar ash. Where is the singing? I inquired interval. Todd Road, Monsieur Todd. So there is a lot of difficult words in this particular passage. The first one is obscure. So the meaning of obscure is preventing something, and the next one is bow. So it means large branch of tree. The another one is lila. It means a bush or a small tree with a sweet smelling purple or white flowers. Next one is crepuscular. Crepuscular. It means relating to a light to the time of the day, just because before the sun goes down when the light is not bright. And another one is corn tree. It means a very thin tree. Gesticulating. Gesticulate means to make movement with your hands or arms to express something or empathize what you're saying. Somber, which I already serious, sad, which means spectral. Spectral means coming from spirit of a dead people. And seaweed, what is this? It means a type of large net that we use for the fishing. So the title of this whole passage is Changing Color of Blue for Trees. So here the author is talking about here. During the winter, trees' color changed from the rust and purple to lilac to piney gray and the deep blue and indigo. This passages. And from this whole, we can write it as after crepuscular glow of the evening, the gaunt trees with their black gesticulating stretch out in infinite series somber, spectral, their trunk void as cigar axis. That's all for this passage. Let's moving forward. The next passage. The scenic, a destination never found but perpetuously longed for. Some scholars have suggested that the Portuguese term Saudade derives from the Arabic word Saud, which, according to this Dictionary of Hans Will, means melancholy, sadness, gloom. And yet, the color associated with this emotion is black, which is the root meaning of soda. What black lacks is the blueness in finest gray, the blue of longing, which offset the greenish of melancholy alone, where the black of sadness and gloom soda meets sonnet's distant blue, color blend into piney's gray. So here, the title of this particular passage is the meaning and significance of black and blue color. So here, author is talking about what black color lack is the blueness, the piney's gray, and the blue of longing, which is opposite the grayness of melancholy alone. That's all for this passage. Let's moving forward to the next passage. If the sawdust describe a nothingness beyond a death, and the distance blue is the impossible hope of reaching what is out of reach, such as finding meaning in the meaninglessness. The gray of soda is the acceptance of never reaching what sits over the horizon, and this is a place we can never go back to, or in the instance of finding meaning and indefinite universe, a place we cannot reach. So, the title of this particular passage is the meaning of difference or the different states of blue and black. Like soda black is signifies nothing beyond that, and the distance blue signifies the finding a meaning in meaninglessness, and the gray of soda signifies the acceptance of never reaching what sits over the horizon. So let's moving forward. The next purpose. Only the Portuguese have a single term of an emotion that is nevertheless, arguably universal. More than merely a loneliness or nostalgia or homesickness, so that instead evoke a melancholy yearning for something absent, something that perhaps never was and never will be. It still haunts one's psychological life in one's memory and desire. A sense of loss for that which one never had, anticipations of whole future that will never be. So, the title of particular passage is the Saudade meaning in fortitude. So here is author is talking about instead evoking a loneliness, nostalgia, homesickness, it's evoked the melancholy yearning for something absent. So let's moving towards another series of the passage. So what this passage holds on, uh, if in some translation of Saga there is a beauty or enjoyment in the longing for what was. Okay, let's read the first passage of that particular series. Nowhere in literature and philosophy has this quintessential feeling been better studied than the book of the speech. Pessoa's brilliant, if enigmatic book. The question for us is this: how could one live a life in the face of such a feeling? How does one find, if not meaning, then at least solace? To our knowledge, when Vera has provided a possible answer, linking Sodor in the Pessoa to his creation of heteronym. Yet this does does not do justice to the feeling, a feeling of being at sea in life without horizon. Nor does it do justice to Pessoa, for whom solace is rather to be found in acceptance than just it after all the human lot. In the end, Saudade closest cousin isn't loneliness but grief, and the solace we must hope for a kind is that of coming to terms with a loss that can never go away. So here, author is talking about the title of this particular passage is How to Live with Less Solace. So here, author is saying that we can't do any justice with our desire, but only grief can help to surpass them. That's all for that particular passage. It's moving towards this next passage. Solid permeates our desire for truth beyond what we can possibly know. In her book, The Rock That Is Higher, Story as Truth, written in 1993, the US author Madeleine L. Angle longs for a Garden of Eden that she is certain once existed. She writes, we are all strangers in a strange land, longing for home. But now the quiet knowing where home is, we dreams it sometime in our dreams. Or as we turn a corner, suddenly there is a strange, sweet familiarity that vanishes almost as soon as it comes. In literature, the longing for home is found in many stories of paradise, of the forgotten place where we once belonged. So here, author is describing about the Saudade, which is written in 1993, that we don't know where our longing home, but it has some glimpse in our desire which is not real. The author, that's all for that thesis. Let's move into another of that particular thesis part. Lily Ingrid yearns for something that is no more, but that she deeply believes in. Her hopeful language reflects that she has now gone through a grieving process to reach the state of acceptance that what she longs for never did exist. Her point on the horizon is still blue but out of reach, not quite yet a tiny speck. So here the author is talking about that author is still not going through the process of acceptance. Her point of horizon is still blue. That's all for that particular passage. Let's moving forward to the another passage. In some translations of Sordid, there is a beauty of enjoy or enjoyment in the longing for what was. And in some passages of the blue or the book of disquiet, Pessoa indifference comes across as something like delight, as though he has found beauty in sordid and enjoyment in his longing for non-existence. The sweetness of having neither family nor companion, that pleasant taste as of exile, in which the pride of the expatriate subdues with a strange sensuality our vague anxiety, but being far from home, all of this I enjoy in my own way, indifferently. Even this moment of enjoyment or bliss are fleeting, as our emotions shift while we move through the grieving process. The beauty we may see in it or experience does as well. In her essay, The Blue of Distance, Solnit touches on this. In the firstly, before the poem, in this passage, author is the title of this whole passage is about the beauty in Saudade and enjoyment in his longing. That would be the best title for this particular passage. In the particular this two para, the author is trying to say that the author is describing about her feeling about value, anxiety of living far away from her family. Let's move in to this poetry. Even this moment of enjoyment or bliss are fleeting, as our emotions shift while we move through the grieving process. The beauty we may see in it, our experience does as well. In her essay, The Blue of Distance, Solney touch on this. If you can look across a distance without wanting to close it up, if you can own your longing in the same way that you own the beauty of that blue, that can never be possessed. For something of this longing will, like the blue of distance, only be relocated, not assured, by acquisition and arrival, just as the mountain cease to be blue when you arrive among them, and the blue instead tints the next beyond. Here, the author is saying that there is a need to look to the things without any desire that help us to pass the grieving process. That's all for that. Let's move into the last passage of this essay. Soli's view here begins to reflect those of Pessoa's indifference. Sordid, without beauty or sadness or joy. The beauty of the blue on the horizon vanishes and moves further away as we move closer to it. The more we try to find meaning in the meaninglessness, in the indifference, the further away from us it becomes. When the moment of happiness or beauty in our longing fade back to indifference is when the blue on horizon shift to the shades of grey. It is in the grey, not the blue, where we find the solace in the indifference of universe. So the here author is the summary of this particular passage is the more we find meaning in meaninglessness, it moves more far the moment of happiness or the beauty in our longing fades back to indifference. Then the blue on the horizon shifts to safe shades of blue. That's all for this particular Aeon topic. Thank you very much to, to be here till the last. Thank you. See you all with the next Aeon.